But I got some crazy stuff to talk about today. A lot of people don't talk about this, and come next month, in a couple of weeks, it'll be 3 years that we've been here in Merida. And you really start to see the cracks on the wall after being here for so long. You see the stuff, in the beginning, when you first get here, you're happy, you're excited. All you can see is good stuff. And then as time goes by, you start to see the cracks in the wall. So we're pushing 3 years, and look at all this stuff here. Pushing 3 years, and man, I got a lot to tell you. Ironically, I subscribe to a lot of newsletters that I read here just to kind of keep abreast on what's happening in the local community, in the expat community. And a lot of the stuff I'm about to talk about, I was gonna make a video about this. This newsletter called Life in Merida, I think her name is Amy, wrote about this in the newsletter. So I was reading it, and I was like, man, it's the stuff I was gonna talk about. So I liked what she wrote because it had a lot more statistics in it. And so some of that stuff I'm about to share with you. So in the newsletter, she broke down these statistics, and it talked about, particularly Merida, this part, 60% of people leave within 3 to 5 years for various reasons. And after, because again, at 3 years, you start feeling a little different. You're in a different place. But here's some of the common reasons. And a lot of these reasons I talked about previously. I'm cleaning this pool up so I can get in it. I've been in this pool every day. The cultural, so one of the reasons the 60% of people tend to leave within 3 years, by year 3, the cultural differences, man. I talked to y'all about that, and lately I've been a lot of calls from people. Even Nikki posted a video the other day, Tia Nikki, and make sure you take a look at that blog post on her video on her channel. She had some issues with her air conditioning and trying to get people out to fix it, the landlord, and it just continued to be a big giant mess. So the cultural differences here, man, it is real. You cannot underestimate how that is gonna mess your behind up, because it's gonna mess your behind up. A lot of folks be like, oh, I can handle it, and I've been to different places. No, been to different places and living in different places is two different things, and it ain't the same. Merida will force your behind to slow down. If you used to moving about and expecting things in a certain time frame, expecting folks to jump to your beat because you got the money to pay for services and whatnot, no, none of that fly here. This place is not going to adapt to you. In fact, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it is never going to adapt to you. I met a lot of Mexican people from other parts of Mexico that have moved down here. And in many cases, even they left and said they couldn't adapt. They couldn't get used to it. They couldn't get used or adapt to the way things was done down here. So many times they leave. They like, nah, this ain't how Mexico is. And one thing I find odd is that they always say, do not judge the rest of Mexico based on how things are done in the Yucatan, because it ain't the same. If I recall, I believe the Yucatan used to be the state, I'm assuming, it used to be its own country. It was not a part of Mexico. It was its own place. And so everybody's saying the same thing. It's different. The food is different. The people are different. The way they do things are different. Our air conditioning, we had some issues with our septic system, toilets and stuff like that. Our landlord, for whatever reason, she would call this guy to come fix our stuff. And the dude, man, he coming out here 4-5 times and still didn't get it right. You know, and each time she pay him, have to pay him each time he come by. And I hear the same complaint from everybody else. Their landlord will have these folk come by and they just never get the stuff done right the first time, the second time, the third time. And so sometimes out of frustration, man, you just like, I'm gonna do it myself. And these folks, they ain't changing the way they move. It might be 3-4 days before they even respond back to you. They ain't in no hurry to get back in touch with you. If your stuff is broken on a Saturday, you be lucky to hear from them on Monday. They just don't move like that. And for whatever reason, the locals, I guess they fine with that. But you as a foreigner moving in here, and not just foreigners from other countries, I'm just people, other Mexicans in other parts of Mexico moving here, they are having a difficult time with the way things are done. So if you are not a person who's patient, and you know you ain't patient, and you know who you are, nobody got to tell you. I'm covering this up in case that I got a big breeze coming through. Nobody got to tell you whether or not you patient. You know you damn ain't patient. You know that. If you're not a patient person, don't even waste your time. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Do not waste your time. This place ain't gonna adapt to you. You're gonna have to change your ways and your mindset and your thinking and adapt to them. That's the biggest thing I want you to understand. I had a lot of people, and I'll give you some more examples because I want you to understand how real this is. A lot of the houses that you're gonna rent, they're beautiful homes. When you move into a lot of these houses, there are gonna be these big gaps under the door. So, you know, when you're seeing bugs come in the house, you're seeing those little tiny geckos, some little lizard things come in the house. You see these bugs and you're like, you know, why don't they cover that up? It ain't an issue for them. But if you want it covered up, you gonna pay for it and get it covered up. You know what I'm saying? I had a client call the other day. There was some water dripping down from the air conditioning unit that's on the wall. You know, and it was a big puddle, and of course, safety hazard for her and her sister who's living with her as well. You know, she called and was like, "Hey, I talked to the landlord about it, and you know, essentially the landlord ain't moving fast enough, ain't even responding. I'm taking 2 and 3 days to respond, so she's having to get it resolved herself, and it was like, I'm just gonna take it out to rent." That's what they do. That's normal. That's what they do. They just don't respond fast enough. To them, it's not an emergency. It's an emergency for us, but not for them. You know, now obviously the water leaking from the air conditioning unit tend to need to be cleaned out and whatnot, which is something, you know, get done pretty cheap. Sometimes it's just easier to do it yourself to avoid the headache, because again, they gonna send some jokers over, man. It might take them a whole week to get there, and then they might not even get it fixed. It's better for me just to call the guy, pay $30, you know, have him come over there right away and get it done, and I'm back to my day. Now, again, I know, well, the landlord's supposed to pay for it, and yes, that's true. But if you want to wait 10 days to get it done, then go ahead, if this is all about principle. But if this is for peace of mind and just want to get it done, get it done. Robert was at my house the other day. He was just talking about the renovation work that he was having done. A lot of the stuff that they do on construction, it just messed his head all the way up. You know what I mean? He has a house. In his house, every time it rains, water come in through this window, because they don't have no window ceiling around the windows. So it's not unusual for water to be coming in through the window. It's a non-issue for them. Every time it rains, what do the locals do? They just get this little squeegee thing and they just scoop the water up out the door on the floor out the house. Problem solved. You moving in that house, it might be a big issue for you. Here, You complaining and going on about it, and they looking at you like, what's the problem? So those are just some examples of cultural differences. I mean, our plumbing thing got messed up. It was Sunday night. Didn't hear back from the landlord. This was a few months ago. And it was like, man, don't nobody care about this thing but me. I could wait for her guy to show up, which, he came 2 days later. But at that point, I posted a thing on this app called InDriver. And on InDriver, I can say, hey, I need some plumbing help. This is the problem. They'll bid on it, and then they'll come. So it was a Sunday night, 10 o'clock at night, and it was like, we need some water because the water wasn't working. I could either wait or pay this guy $30. I paid the $30 because it was a Sunday night, and he told me there's more money because it's Sunday and it's 10 o'clock at night. I probably won't get home to midnight. So we paid the $30. So and I got hundreds of stories like that, not just from myself, but from other folks. So cultural differences, again, folks not showing up when they say they're going to show up. They don't call you back. You think you can handle that until you need something and it becomes a real issue. So do not underestimate that. Do not underestimate. It is a thing. You might survive a couple of weeks, a few months. You might survive the first year, but 2 and 3 years later, either it's going to make you, it's going to break you, or you want to adapt. And if you adapt, good for you. If you don't make it, then you're going to be one of them 60% that's leaving. Other thing, 60% of people leave after 3 to 5 years. They can't get used to that language. These folk here, they don't speak English. I don't know how it is. Now, again, a lot of this stuff is specific to Merida, particularly. I can say Merida different. They don't speak English, even though a lot of tourism happen here. They're not adjusting, because what you got to understand, Merida is visited by other Mexicans from other parts of Mexico. So I don't know the numbers exactly, but I would probably say more tourism and folks are visiting Merida are probably coming from other parts of Mexico. So Spanish still is the primary spoken language, even with the visitors that are coming. You're not gonna find menus in English. Yes, you will find some at a couple of places, but they ain't bending to make it easy for you. Now, Cancun, you might have a different experience like that, because for them, they about that money. They gonna make that money, and they gonna adapt to appease, the millions of folks that's passing through there. Like 30, 40 million folks, I think, passing through Cancun. They adapting. Ain't so much so here in Merida. You ain't gonna find, they ain't gonna try and learn no English. They ain't gonna try and speak no English. No. So this is a thing for a lot of people. It's an issue. It's an issue. So, and it's a big issue for a lot of folk that move here and think it's gonna get better. The only way it gets better is if you take the time to learn some Spanish. If you're not trying to learn the language, it's gonna be challenging. So you wanna have to make a decision on whether you're gonna make that language a priority in learning. You are in a foreign country where the language is different. So if you want your quality of life to be significantly better, then ideally learning the language is going to be at the top of that list of things for you to do. And if you're expecting them to do it, expecting it to be the other way around, ain't happening. I'll tell you that right now. And you're going to stress yourself out. And I've seen it. I see a lot of people come thinking they're going to be okay, and they ain't. And they leaving. It's different when you're on vacation and And it's fun when you're on vacation. Let me turn this light on out here. It's fun when you're on vacation. If not, been on vacation for a week or two, trying to get by with your limited Spanish, it's different than living here 3, 4, 5 years. Turn this light on. So, it ain't, now I got to go pee. The water got me want to go pee. So it ain't the same. Let me go take a wee. All right. So I'm gonna get back. All right, I done got my pool clean the best as I'm gonna do it. I'm about to jump in this bad boy and continue our conversation. So, they ain't gonna try and speak English. Now, some places you go to, they will speak some English. But don't just assume with most places where you go, it ain't happening. Just ain't. You know what I'm saying? Just ain't happening. So the other thing, again, I can say 60% folks, after 3 years, within 3 to 5 years, they out of here. And they out of here quick. Most folks, I don't even think most folks make it 3 years. But the heat is another one that drive folks off. It's like the heat is a kryptonite. You know, Merida might get an influx of people and people flood in. You don't have to worry about this place just being jam-packed, overcrowded, because for all the folks that come in, there's a mass exodus of folks leaving because of that heat. That heat is kryptonite. It is kryptonite. It's going to drive folks away. This heat ain't the same like it is in Florida. A lot of folks come down here thinking the heat is the same. Oh, I can deal with the heat. We had it heat in Texas. No, it ain't the same damn thing in Texas. I promise. It is heat. It's a whole nother kind of heat. It's a different breed of heat. You know what I mean? It's like saying, hey, I have a what kind of dog? I'm trying to think of a mild temperate dog. You might have an English Mastiff, and then you just assume that getting a Labrador, you know, dog will tear your whole house up. You say, oh, I got a dog. All dogs are the same. No. Some dogs are more laid back and temperament, and just relax, and they lazy. Then you have these other dogs where you have to take them jokers out 3-4 times a day, because if you don't, they're going to tear your whole house apart. And that's the thing about this heat. Folks mistakenly believing that this heat is something they can tolerate because they don't tolerate it in hot Atlanta. I promise you. That hot Atlanta heat ain't got nothing. I mean, we've been having 109, 110, 111 degree weather out here. And then with the index where it feels like 118. I mean, it was 103, 105 today, 105 degrees Fahrenheit today. Man, there's a joker I read on the news up there fixing on the house. He just passed out. Heat stroke. Died. You know, Mexico, they got monkeys out here in trees. Monkeys just dropping out the damn tree. Just dropping out dead. Birds just dropping out the tree dead. That's how hot it is out here. On any given day, if there's a puddle of water or a little waterfall, or, you know, some of these commercial buildings will have a little water splashing up, you'll see a whole bunch of birds just gathered up there, hanging out, trying to cool off. People got dog bowls, water all over the place for the dogs, so to keep them hydrated. This heat, I don't know how many ways I can tell you. This heat, don't underestimate this heat. Don't play it down. Don't think it ain't nothing. Don't think it's an issue. Bring your behind out here in the summer if you're thinking about moving here to see if you can handle it. Because the heat is real. It's an issue. Now, I've been here. This is my 3rd year come June. The first 2 years, it was hot. The first couple of summers, I'm like, oh, this is as bad as it gets. This year put all the other years to shame. So this will be my 4th summer here, I believe. Let me think. 3rd summer. This, I'm thinking I done seen it all. I'm like, oh, this heat ain't that bad. But then this year showed up. I'm like, man, this thing ain't no joke. It got me thinking, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to stay in Merida, what I might have to do is get me a home or stay somewhere else 3 to 4 months out the year. I just might have to leave Merida, let's say, leave in April, May, June, July, and come back in August. Or I just gotta be somewhere else. I could just travel for 4 months to another part of the world. It doesn't even have to be in Mexico. I just can travel. Say, okay, every April, May, June, July, we just go stay somewhere else for 4 months out the year, and then come back at the end of August. You know what I'm saying? Because, it's ridiculous. And now we had some blackouts, and a lot of it was due to faulty transformers in our subdivision. Overwhelming many, and I'm not going to say majority. Well, I probably will say majority. Most folks didn't have no power outages. Certain areas had them. Like I say, our neighborhood, the transformer was faulty, and so we had some issues. And the few times the power did go out outside of that, the power only be out for 5-10 minutes and it's back on. But we have some unusual circumstances. But I know how to deal with that now. Next place I get, I'm going to definitely get a generator. The problem's been fixed, so we ain't having any more problems since they came through and fixed stuff in the subdivision. And it's still hot. I'm talking about, like I say, it's 105 today, so we ain't have no more issues since they finally got it fixed. Took them about 5 days to get the whole thing operational and fully functioning without issues. But I'm definitely going to have a generator and just backup. I know people be like, I thought you had solar. Well, we do have solar, but it's still connected to the grid. I think I talked about that briefly. I ain't gonna get into it here, but it's still connected to the grid. The energy that the solar panels generate go back to the grid, to the electric company. You get a credit that applies to your bill. So essentially, depending on how many panels you got and how much energy is sent back, you essentially don't have to pay for electricity. But because you're still connected to the grid, if the power go out and you're connected to the grid, you lose power. On the way around that, of course, is with backup batteries, which from my understanding cost more than the whole damn solar system, the whole complete setup of the solar system. Could easily run you $15,000-$20,000 US. And it doesn't even give you that much energy as a backup. So when the backup kick on, it's not like it's going to get you through the whole day. So generators, gas generators would be the solution for that. And so I'll be ready next time. So again, if I had that, it wouldn't even been the issue. It's just not having that. So long as you know what to have to minimize these type of issues happening, because some of the folks in the neighborhood, they were ready. Soon as that thing went out, they already had it, and it was out longer after the first 2 hours, and they figured they was going to be out. They had their stuff ready. They was on. You know what I'm saying? They stuff was out and they were ready. What's up? Well, you trying to get in? Get in. I know I'm recording. You knew I was recording when you came out here. Really now. Your choice if you want to get in. So, don't underestimate the heat. Man, I can't believe we're only on the third one. I got 3 more to go. Other reason people tend to leave within, I'm talking about leaving out of here in masses at 60% tend to leave by year number 3 and 5. Family. Adult children their adult children back in the States started having grandbabies, having kids, and so now the grandparents want to go see the grandbaby. or you as the parent, or you as the person, the person that's living here in Mexico, perhaps you're starting to age, you done got sick, now you need some help, and so you're moving back to the States to be with family, to assist, or you going back to assist family members who have older family members who have aged and now they need help. And so, again, these are just various reasons that 60% of people are leaving. And I imagine many of these statistics probably apply the same in other parts of the world, particularly the stuff like, family issues, medical issues, language issues, cultural differences, and stuff like that. But family is a pretty big one. So again, these are some things. If you're gonna be, if your goal is to be living abroad for the remainder of your life, these are just some things to be thinking about. Statistics don't lie. Statistics basically is saying, based on all these people that come down here, X amount of them for this reason or another are going to be bouncing up out of here. So the numbers don't lie. Knowing what these issues are, and if your goal is to be staying somewhere long term, knowing this in advance, don't think that you're smarter than these other folks. Because again, the numbers don't lie. Don't have that hubris about you, where you think you just better. But take these stats and say, I'm going to take them seriously and I'm going to apply so I can minimize my chances of coming back. So that language thing is a real thing. So if people are leaving because of the language barrier, believe it. Take that for real and fix it. Do something about it. Because that's one less thing that will throw you out of here. One less thing that you have to worry about. One less frustration, one less headache, one less issue. So some of these issues can be minimized and completely. Now, ain't too much you could do about cultural norms or differences, unless you move into a place where cultural differences are minimal. You know what I mean? If the heat is an issue, again, that coming in, you can avoid that by not moving to a place where it's this hot. Because there are other places that will give you the same lifestyle and you don't have to deal with the heat. You know what I mean? For me, even though I complain about this heat, I complain more about this heat this year than I ever did. It still ain't enough to run me off yet. Well, it definitely ain't enough to make me run back to the States. Let me say that right now. I may relocate somewhere else, but I ain't going back to the States. And I do see a lot of folks leaving and going back to the States and won't even consider going anywhere else. I spoke to a couple of ladies that's hosting basically an online retreat, and I'm gonna be sharing their information with y'all soon. They told me, they was like, Cortez, and one of them lived here in Merida for a minute and traveled to multiple other destinations throughout Mexico. She's like, Cortez, Merida, the rest of Mexico ain't like Merida. She's like, you need to go out there and explore them other parts of Mexico and show that to other people. Because Mexico is amazing. So I might do that. My lease is up September 1st. I might just do that. You know what I mean? Because there's nothing here holding me here per se. My goal is to show y'all, give you options, not just tell y'all to come here. It's never been the case. The purpose of Move Abroad had always been to travel to different countries and different cities, highlighting countries where it's affordable, your money can go further, and so that one can have a quality of life. That's always been the vision. So we may be doing that. So we talked about cultural differences, languages, heat, family, medical emergencies. There's other reason why people age, their health start going down, they get sick, and they just got to go back. Insurances might not be working well like they thought, or it might be too much money. Remember, a lot of the folks that are retiring in these different parts of the world are doing so because the money don't go as far in their home country. So they find other countries where their money go further and they have a much better quality of life. But sometimes, depending on those countries that you choose, the insurance is not financially friendly. A lot of this stuff you got to pay for out of pocket. So for major medical services, it can cost you. Whether you have a heart attack, have a stroke, need emergency surgery, in a car accident, catastrophic, and the injuries are very bad. It can get very costly, and you got to pay for this stuff up front. So a lot of time, and sometimes the insurances, depending on the country that you in, they will have pre-existing condition clauses in there that make it difficult for you to get treatment. So oftentimes folk got to go back due to medical emergencies. Again, while you're doing your research, look into the insurance options. Determine whether or not it's affordable for you. Determine whether or not you're covered. These are real things that you need to look at. We've had 2 emergency surgeries since we've been here. Haley had emergency surgery. Fortunately, it was a laparoscopic. Went to the emergency room. They rolled it to the back. Said she needed to have surgery right now. They did a laparoscopically, and it was $3,000. Very affordable to do that. Now, you guys definitely got to have $3,000 on hand, or $3,000 on a credit card that you can charge on that bad boy. So these just little things that you just need to be mindful of. And again, if you know these things in advance and you're planning and you're prepared, these are not going to be big issues. These are just issues for folks who don't know and not aware, and that's what I'm trying to do for you, to make you aware. Before I say what the next one is, I'm going to just plug this in there. If you find this content helpful, and if this content that I'm sharing with you is helping you plan better, prepare better, making you more aware of some things, and this content is helpful, consider making a donation. The funds that I get from these donations, man, it allow me to go places and go to do different things that I can bring y'all along and share with y'all and show y'all. We've been contemplating just hopping around, going to some other parts of Mexico or just other countries in general. So your donations, we use them wisely. I use them wisely to plan things and highlight things so that I can showcase that to you. So consider making a donation. Cash App, $Cartes Ross. Also, you can Zelle it. I'll put the information on the screen. My Zelle is my email, which is cartes@cartesross.com. Also, take a look at our VIP membership, moveabroadandthrive.com/VIP. Join, become a member. I generally post different content there. That's different from the outside. Also, there's a section in there called Ask Cartes. Any questions you have, you can talk to me directly there. I answer that myself personally. I'm going to be throwing my Move Abroad Academy program. I'm going to be loading that up for the VIP members. So that's something I'm going to be adding probably in the next week or two. So you'll get access to that as a member. I want to make sure all the resources that I have for our VIP members make it worth your while. So now that I've said that, also subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. If you're not a subscriber of my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Click that little notifications alert button so you can be notified of each of these videos that go up. And share this video. It helps me a lot. And one more thing, I know I don't do this often, so I'm just throwing this in there. If you watch this long, if you're interested in learning how to make money online, because I know a lot of folks are looking for ways to make money so they can travel abroad, hit my website, www.cartesross.com, www.cartesross.com. That's also on the screen as well. So the last reason many people tend to leave is, like I said, there's a lot of stuff folks just don't factor in. That doggone exchange rate. That exchange rate changes like the wind. It can go up and down. Just to give you an example. So the exchange rate fluctuates based on the strength of the U.S. dollar. Right now, the U.S. dollar is doing poorly. So when I first got here 3 years ago, for every $1, I would get 21 pesos, 21 Mexican pesos per $1. So if I spent $10, $10 would get me 210 Mexican pesos. Is that right? Yeah. 210 pesos is what I would get for $10. So now, $1, 21 pesos. Now for every dollar, I'm getting about 16 pesos right now. And I'm just rounding down. So for every dollar, I get 16 pesos, where before I got 21 pesos for every dollar, U.S. dollar. So as you can see, my buying power is not the same. It's low. Now, before I showed up, people were telling me they were getting 25 pesos per dollar. I mean, you almost lose your mind. So just to put into perspective what that means is, it's not that your rent changes. So let's say my rent is 10,000 pesos. And for easy math, let's say I was getting 20 pesos per $1 when I first got here. So if I was getting $20 for 20 pesos for $1, and let's say my rent was 10,000 pesos, that means my rent would be about $500. 10,000 pesos would be about 500 US dollars. Now that it's down to now that I'm getting 16 pesos, for that same dollar, then my rent is 10. All right. So, all right, I'm sorry, y'all. I want to get the math right. So, if I'm getting 16 pesos for the dollar, that means my rent is still 10,000 pesos, but because of the value of the dollar's changed, that $500 rent is now $625 a month. So, by the dollar losing value and I'm getting less pesos, I'm just waiting on you to. Because the value of the dollar had dropped and I'm getting less pesos, that means my rent is costing me 625 US dollars instead of $500. So if you move down here and you based your budget on that 21 pesos that you were getting and not factoring in that number could fluctuate and drop, then you living above your means. You're over budget, and that's not just for the rent, but that means your groceries gonna cost you more money. The entertainment you were doing or spending money on entertainment, that's gonna cost you more money. Gas gonna cost you more money. Everything is gonna cost you more money because of fluctuation. Now, we've been that peso been bad. I mean, that U.S. dollar has been bad. It's been fluctuating horribly over the last year. And so, they expect it to bounce back up, but nobody really knows. They talking about it might get down to 15. We'll be getting 15 pesos per $1. Now, still better than what we'll be spending in the States. Still better. But when you got here and we're getting 21 pesos and now you're getting 16, you feel that. Now, new folk moving down here and they getting the 16 pesos for the dollar. It's good to them because it's still better than what it was in the States. But if they got down here and it dropped down to 12, they gonna feel it. but more likely it's gonna go back up. So, they might be paying $625 for rent today when they first get here, and then let's say a year later it go back up $20, 20 pesos or 21 pesos a dollar. Now instead of them paying $625 for rent, their rent gets cheaper. Now they only paying $500, so they happy. Like, man, my rent dropped down to $125 a month. When $125 a month less. I can't even imagine what jokers was doing when it was 25 pesos per dollar. I would be done lost my damn mind. You know what I mean? So, like I say, my rent done went up a couple of hundred since I've been here over the last year. Because that peso was gone up and the value of the dollar went down. So, them 24,000 pesos I'm paying right now for my rent, it hit my pocket. I'm feeling it. But I kind of I kind of factored in that the rate possibly can fluctuate. So when you're doing your budget, don't lower your numbers. You know what I mean? Because you can't predict what's going to happen. But one thing you can predict is going to happen. But already factor those numbers in and be ready for it. So in other words, if you say, hey, my budget for a house is, say, I'm just throwing a high number out there, my budget for a house is $1,000 a month, maybe bring it down, drop it down. Say, okay, I'm going to bring my budget down to $700 a month. So that way, in case things go down, it ain't gonna hit me so bad. I'm already there. You see what I'm saying? Just lower your numbers across the board. So those are some reasons. Like I said, I got that from Life in Merida newsletter. You know what I'm saying? I read a whole bunch of different things. Also, if you're not on my newsletter, because I send out a newsletter to my members, to my subscribers every month. That don't cost you anything. Go to the website, moveabroadandthrive.com, and you'll see a button on the front page asking you to get on our email list. So get on my subscriber list so that you can get updates. Because I send updates to stuff that I don't talk about necessarily on video. So a little bit more intimate, a little more private. So make sure you're a subscriber. So this is a frank conversation, man. I got something even more frank to talk about tomorrow. Or the next day. I'll make a video about it. I spoke to a lady today. Man, almost broke me down. She has cancer, terminal cancer. Her husband's on dialysis, and both of them, they're sick, and they like, Cartels, we've been following you for years. It's been our dream to move abroad and live abroad and just have the time of our life. And, in the course of living and being busy and tied up to work and stuff and other responsibilities that we thought we had to do, man, now we sick. And it's like, we're ready now. We're gonna take the time we got left and we gonna roll out. So they coming through next week, and it's, man, life is so fragile. We oftentimes put things out, put it off, thinking that we can do it later. We can catch up later. We delay it, and then things happen, and then we miss it. But I'm glad to see that they said, hey, man, we ain't putting it off no longer. We gonna come out and check it out and do our thing. We gonna live. I seen the same thing happen to my dad. He promised my mom, honey, when I retire, we gonna travel. We gonna see different places. And 4 months before he retired, 6 months before retirement, walked into the hospital. They diagnosed him with pancreatic cancer. 4.5 months later, he was gone. Before he died, he looked me in the bed He looked at me from the bed. He was like, Carl, that's my nickname. He said, Carl. He said, man, I'm proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing. He said, I used to look at you, and I used to think the stuff you were doing was crazy. They didn't make no sense to me what you were doing. And they used to think, he used to think that what I was doing was irresponsible. Because I was an entrepreneur, and he worked a 9 to 5. He was in the Army for 20 years, then became a school teacher. Got a degree in school while in the Army. Became a school teacher. Then he became an assistant principal. Went back to school. Got his master's degree and got his PhD, and then he ended up becoming a principal of a school. Now, this is a man who dropped out of school in 6th grade. And, and my mom, same thing, dropped out of school, 7th or 8th grade, I believe. And while my dad was in the Army, she went back to school, got a diploma, went back to school, got a bachelor's degree, associate's degree, then a bachelor's degree, then a master's degree, became a sociology counselor. So for them, education was everything. Carl, get your education. So my dad would look at me and be like, man, you don't want to go to college? You don't want to work a regular job that guarantee you safety and security? And that was his way. So he would look at me, he was like, man, you got these children, you got kids. Every time I turn around, you moving here, you going there, you going to Colombia, you doing this, you're traveling, and to him it was just a foreign concept. But while he was on his deathbed, he was like, I get it. He said, I waited and waited and waited. I was trying to time everything. I was trying to do it the right way. I was trying to follow the system. I was trying to do it their way, the way they said it should be done, the responsible way. And he said, I missed it. He said, I got all this money and I can't do nothing with it. Can't take your mama nowhere. I'm gone. She can be by herself. That messed him up, man. That messed him up. I think that was the biggest disappointment he had on that bed, was that he missed it. Trying to, follow the system that, it's the same system everybody been told that they need to follow. Hold on one second. Y'all. 1 second. And I think that was the biggest disappointment, the biggest shock of his life. He looked at me and he said, man, keep doing what you're doing. Live your life. He said, you are doing it the right way and have been doing it the right way. And y'all, I made every mistake possible to man. I screwed up so many things, messed up so many things. But I'm going to tell you something. I messed them things up and screwed them things up doing exactly what I wanted to do. And that's the difference. I've taken all sorts of chances. Ain't been no stone unturned. Sometimes my wife look at me sometimes and she be like, man, I don't get it. You don't even follow protocol. You don't do this. You don't, oftentimes she'll be like, you don't pray before you go out and do something. I tell her all the time, I believe them parts of the scriptures where it says, I'm blessed wherever my feet go. So I'm blessed in my going. I'm blessed in my coming. Where she believe, well, I got to pray and get, and I understand that. But my faith is of such. Doors are open when I show up. Now, on the other hand, like I said, I done screwed up a lot of things. I messed up a lot of things. But guess what? There's a scripture for that. The scriptures say, what was that? Now I got a brain freeze. Scriptures say, it's all working for your good. In other words, what looked bad, what looks broken, what I screwed up and messed up, he said, I'm still, all things come together for good for those who believe. So, as I be telling her, She like, man, you done messed that up. I said, yeah, but you know what? There's some good gonna come out of it. Cause that's what the scriptures say. It's all working for my good. And I believe that. I believe that with all my heart. So, man, y'all watching the video, live, be. Human beings, it means being. Live, be moving towards. Tomorrow ain't promised. Tomorrow's the future. Future don't exist. You know what I mean? There is no future. It's not here yet. So worrying about tomorrow, that's what we oftentimes do. We find ourselves worrying about the next day. And they say something like 60 to 80% of the things we worry about never happen. Of course it don't happen because it's the future. And the future ain't here. And you can't predict, you can't tell what's going to happen in the future. It can change. There are an infinite number of possibilities and opportunities and paths you can take that will change everything. Things you can't even imagine. I mean, I think about some of the possibilities and opportunities that have opened up since I've came here. Opportunities and possibilities that I didn't even think about. Couldn't even conceive or predict. It took coming here for me to see that. And even when I got here, I still didn't see it. It took a year or 2 or 3 years. In my third year, opportunities are opening up. I got an appointment to see setting up a legal corporation in Mexico. So I can have more flexibility on doing some things. I'm getting legal counsel because why? Legal counsel, I could talk to a lawyer for about $30 and get an hour of their time and come up with the best strategy. So I'm working with an attorney now, to teach, showing me hey, you can get you a Mexican partner on paper, on your corporation, on paper, give them 1% ownership. And then have them go there and do all this type of paperwork that would drive you insane as a foreigner. It becomes a simplicity for them because you have a Mexican partner. And then you can turn around and revoke the dog on 1% of the partner and get the 1% back where you have 100%. But hell, for me, it's like, hey, I might give him that 1% and keep that 1%. If he's bringing all of this extra stuff to the table, I can work with that. But again, because I'm here, I can afford sound legal advice. In the States, you might go pay $200-300 an hour for an attorney. Here, get one for $25 an hour, and get everything I need. Put them on retainer, and let them figure out the loopholes and all of that. So my opportunities have just opened up. I can hire folks, through my corporation, and I mean, think about it. Salary here, I can hire somebody for 3,000 pesos a week, which is about, and this is on the high end, $150, $175 a week. I get 40 hours of work. Here it's like 50 hours. So if you got a business and you need somebody to do some work for you, you can afford to hire employees and afford to build a team and afford to do. So I'm meeting up with my guy, and we making some deals and talking about some real estate options. I'm like, dude, why don't you be my damn partner? You know what I mean? This is the attorney. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, let's figure something out. Let's work something out. I got some opportunities that I'm working with some developers. Again, opportunities that I didn't perceive. I couldn't even think of. Didn't even think it can go there. But because I was foolish enough, as some folk would say, to come out here and walk my feet out, walk on this land, opportunities are coming. Now I'm in a position where I'll be able to hire local people, contribute back to the local economy, and not just be somebody who's here taking, but actually somebody here that's giving. I don't want to pay just a low wage. I want to pay better than a living wage. You know what I mean? And so, even though I say 3,000 pesos a moment ago, I'm just using examples, but My dad, he saw it at the end. He like, man, I waited. I shouldn't have been waiting. I should have been living. You know what I'm saying? So pray for this couple that I was telling y'all about. She's believing for complete recovery and healing. So y'all do me a favor, pray for this young lady and her husband. You know, it's not too late. And even while they're sick, they made a decision. They coming now. And whatever time they got, they gonna ride it out and enjoy it. So, not a member, join our VIP, moveabroadandthrive.com/VIP. Ask me all the questions you like inside our membership VIP area. Need ways to make some money, visit our site, cartersross.com. Hey, I'm here for y'all. I want y'all to see the bigger picture and go further and go deeper. Go out there on faith. Thank y'all for watching. This has been a Carters Ross production. What's up, bud? I got the pee. This water made me pee. Made me want to go pee all the daggone time.